friend earlier, and hi Adelie. Um, and we were talking about intentional use of your energy, so being really intentional where you put it. And she was telling me like the four, like she said that there's like four C's that like kind of like it's places that you send your energy that aren't useful to you, and it's they were like comparison, competition, oh geez, you got this, Claire. Claire's not one of them. Competition, comparison. Comes back to me, I will tell you guys. But basically, like, it's things that you send your energy to that, like, they don't come back to you. Like, if you send your energy to good things and, like, things that are intentional in your meaning to, it'll come back to you tenfold. And so if you're spending your time, like, giving energy to things that bring you down, then you're just going to feel exhausted all the time because that energy can't come back to you. And if it does come back to you, it's just matching with like what you're putting out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What were the two you said? Comparison.
Comparison, um,
You said competition.
competition. Thank you. Oh, complaining was one of them. So whenever you're
Okay. Yeah.
complaining and you're putting that out there, you're just like, oh, this sucks. This sucks.
Or is it 4 C's?
It was four C's, but I can't remember the fourth one.
Comparison,
Yeah.
complain. I don't know why the second one keeps fluttering away from my mind.
I'm gonna message it to you. I'm gonna message it just in the group chat. And when I think of the
Comparison.
fourth one, I'll add it. But I mean, there's so many more things too. But like those are definitely things that I like struggle with a lot, like sending my energy to for sure.
Well, yeah, we're creatures of setting our sights on something, and when you are like you're mentioning the comparison and complaining, and I think you said competitiveness.
Yeah, competition. So kind of
Competition.
seeing people as competition and things as
Right.
competition.
So when you are focused on those things, that's the direction you're heading into, you know, and they certainly have their place. You know, it's just about being mindful, like you're saying, about how much energy you're putting into that, because it is a robbery of you. So you know, complaining is a good one that I think we're all guilty of course. And you know, it's an ego-driven one for sure, as much as the other ones. But um, there's a certain level of complaining that you could say is important to do, um, because sometimes you really just need to get it out of you.
Mm.
But I think where it goes into the area of, um, Andrew says, criticizes the fourth. Nice, perfect, thank you. I think when it goes into the area of, you know, okay, so you vented to one person. Now, how many other people are you venting to about the same thing? I think that's where you need to be mindful of how, like you're saying, how much energy are you inputting into this? It's like, okay, you did it with one, okay, maybe two. If it gets to a third, then you're probably needing to flag yourself down and say, what am I doing? Why am I putting this out there again? You know, I've already vented it. I've already kind of, you know, let my frustration out. Now I need to put myself in check and see where it is I need to go from here. And again, I think even the competitiveness or competing, it definitely has its place, in a certain regard, because there's one aspect of it where, you know, oftentimes you need somebody to push you harder, and that push may come from somebody that you perceive as being better than you. And so that can be a good thing in a certain regard. But if you're going to compare yourself to Elon Musk, and every time you know, make a success, you say, well, Elon Musk went to, is making a rocket and is boring a tunnel through LA and is, doing all this other crap, you're always going to be a loser in that perspective. And, again, coming back to the kind of saying where compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today, holds a lot more water than the trying to compare or be competitive with, again, somebody else that you don't know or that you aspire to be, or even amongst our group. It's important to know that every single person has their own uh, plot in life, so to speak. And there's no benefit to comparing yourself because nobody else is in your shoes. So nobody else has that perspective. Nobody else has your experiences. Like, there's reason to say, like, when you're young, say like in your early youth to late youth, like let's just say high school and under, that yeah, you should be kind of comparing yourself. You should be kind of like utilizing that to your advantage because you're really like a more fresh slap. But once you get, past that age, again, it's really so nuanced and so specific that it really does you no good comparing to these other people, either in your life or, again, like you're aspiring to be. There's nothing wrong with aspiring to be like them and using them as your inspiration. But, again, it's like just comparing to like Johnny Depp or something like that. And you're just like this fledgling, actor that's maybe had like one role and well, he's done, 50 movies and I've only been an extra in one movie. It's like, all right, well, that's a win compared to somebody else that's in school still. So it's important to think about perspective in those situations. Yeah. But know that you're not alone. Know that we are all going through that and we all have to put ourselves in check. And, hopefully each of us is able to call on each other at certain times when we need to, when we do need to vent or when we do need to or be put in our place sometimes and be like, hey, you okay, fine, you talked about this, but now you've been talking about it for a week. So time to move on, time to get on to a new show, so to speak. Because yeah, it's a struggle for each and every one of us to manage ourselves. That's why, again, I like to press upon coming and meeting like this once a week if you can, just because it acts as a reminder and it's a reset. And it's no matter what we're talking about, it's still putting you in the frame of mind that it's like, oh yeah, okay, I need to look at myself again. I need to recheck what I'm doing. What am I thinking? Where have I been? That's a big question to ask yourself, even right now, regardless of this conversation. But where have you been? What have you been doing? And I kind of mean that more in regards to your spirituality than anything else, because your spirituality is the first thing to be taken from you by this world, by this matrix that we're in. And whether it's been a day since your last meditation, or it's been a week, or it's been a month, or whatever it is, maybe it's a year. When it gets too long and you haven't asked yourself that question, where have I been? What am I doing? that's when you really start to slip. And, it is a slippery slope to it no longer being an integral part of your life. It is a struggle to awaken. It is a struggle to be awake in this world. Whatever that means to you personally, it's a struggle because you have everything is really designed against you awakening. Your friends, most of them anyways, let's say not here in particularly, but most of your friends, most coworkers, most family, most jobs, most life situations, the fact that you need food, shelter, security, all those things are really a designed set in this matrix to keep you in check. Your car wrecks, your little stuff that knocks you off your course and just keeps jabbing at you, pushing you a little bit more. It's all put in place there so that you are not awakening, so that you are not connecting to your spirituality. Because ultimately, this planet, Gaia, has an agenda. It wants you to be a part of its organism, which is a very normal thing. It's just like you want your cells of your body to be a part of you as an organism. So it's not that it's a negative thing or a positive thing. If all of the cells in your body started awakening and saying they wanted to leave the matrix that is you, you'd start dying. Okay, and it's the same thing with Gaia. So it has its program as an organism to exist. And we are the individuals that are looking to step outside of that program because we do have this awareness. We have this call within us or this drive to seek out something beyond ourself. And not everybody has that. It is not an everybody thing. You are special. It's important that you don't forget that, because most of the time we really, even though we know that most people aren't into this, it's like we usually tend to think that, yeah, most people aren't into this, but you still tend to think that most people recognize that maybe they're not their bodies. We think that, well, they believe they have a soul. So if they believe they have a soul, then they must kind of believe that they're not their bodies. Or, they must, we tend to make, again, a comparison to ourselves when we're looking at everybody else. And the fact of the matter is that no, most people are not thinking this way. They are part of the program. And we are not separate from the program either. We're striving to separate. We're still very much ingrained in this matrix. We're still very much a part of it. Even, your functioning as a human body is a part of the matrix. Even your personalities, how your eyes, most of them are functionality eyes that are matrix driven, because it's evolution. You're not separate from Gaia. You're not separate from the earth. Your whole being has been created from the mud of the earth. You are a heap of food. You are this creature that is unfurling constantly, but it's all within the parameters of this planet, of this organism that we are a functional part of. So it's really, again, you're working against all of those forces so that you can step out and have more free will. You're teaching yourself these skills, you're practicing these disciplines and these techniques so that you can step outside of this matrix. And that's what you're doing when you are meditating. It is you actually blipping off the grid. It's like there's a hole where you were now when you're in your meditation, because you're doing something that should not be done. It's like if you were to play the game The Sims, like, you know, the game The Sims, right? So all of them kind of run their little program, and you're kind of the god observing this town or these people. And it's like, what would you say if you started, you know, clicking on a Sims and telling it to do something, and it just sat there meditating? You know, you didn't know necessarily what it was doing. You just saw it sitting there kind of staring at the wall. You'd be like, well, what the fuck is this thing doing? You know, you'd be like, what's going on through its head right now? What is it thinking? Why is it not following this program? And even more so if it got other Sims to do it with it, and you keep clicking it and trying to get it to go to work or go do whatever, and it's just not listening. You know, you as the god per se would be pretty interested in that being, in that AI, whatever it is. So that's the other side of it that is important to recognize, which is that you, as this being meditating, are calling the attention of God, because you are separating yourself from the program, and it's saying, oh, what's this? What is this thing doing? It's not supposed to be doing that. Let's take an interest in this. Let's see what's going on. You'd be curious. You'd probably be more curious in that sim to see what they're going to do than the other ones, because it's running its own program without your influence. Go ahead, Chevy.
I feel like that would be, well, I was going to say other things, but they flutter in and out of my mind as we continue. But I feel like that would be like, it would put even more obstacles in your path, essentially, than someone that wasn't necessarily on that path. Because, you know, if we're beings of the earth, and the earth wants to keep us, you know, on plugged in, you know, you would try to do everything possible to get it back plugged in, right?
Right. So there's a little bit of it's a yes and no, because what tends to happen, or what seems to happen, is that there comes a point when you have now changed yourself so much that the matrix is forced to recognize you as this new being. And it is going to go with the path of least resistance in making these corrections. So that's why you tend to notice, especially usually when you first start meditating or when you're getting back into meditating, that all kinds of distractions tend to come up, or people from your past call you, or other things tend to call your attention, especially when you're about to meditate, or, you know, again, like you're on a roll of meditating, and then, you know, something pops up. It's like you get a major project at work, and or you could even be a positive thing. Again, you get a new boyfriend, girlfriend in life, and now they're taking up your time and attention, and so you start slipping into kind of more your human eyes than, say, your spiritual eyes. What does tend to happen, though, is that, like I say, you are on this either upward or downward spiral trajectory. And how I've perceived it is that as you're ascending upward in this spiral, it's like as you're going up, you hit these kind of, like you're saying, these distractions that are trying to bring you back down. But once you hit like a full rotation, it seems like that's like almost like level 1, if you're thinking about it like in an RPG kind of a sense. And then now you're on this next trajectory, this next spiral upward, and then you're going to hit new types of barriers, or new types of distractions, but you as the spiritual being have not lost your essence. It's like you're a level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever it is. But even if you get distracted, it's already accepted you to a certain degree. Um, and I think that's the other side of it too, is how do you perceive yourself? Um, because how you perceive yourself is also going to affect this matrix and how it perceives you. And I think that kind of ties into um, a little bit of manifestation and a little bit of negative people versus positive, so pessimistic versus optimistic kind of people. And I always go back to this example of a girlfriend that I had in high school, and again, I'm sure you've all come across similar types of people. And she was just always negative. I mean, she had reasons to be negative, fair enough, but it was always like, nothing going my way. Like, of course this happens to me. Like, and sure as shit, like, I mean, just random weird shit would happen to her. I mean, she had her car on bricks one time. She, just shit happened to her, like constantly. That was kind of beyond normal, in my opinion. All the other problems aside, it was just like things would happen, and she just always expected it to happen. And because she set that expectation, it was kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so those kinds of things tend to happen more with the negative than the positive, because it's much easier to feel yourself in that negative role, like, oh, of course me, or everything happens to me in threes, or whatever it is. That type of energy is easier to project and embody than to say, you know what, things always tend to work out for me. Especially when something bad happens to you, it's very easy to say, of course this happened to me. And then you're reaffirming that when you have that type of energy, or you carry that type of sentiment about the things that happen to you, it's more difficult, but in your best interest, to laugh it off and to say, oh, you know what, that's good, it's a good lesson, or however it is that you can turn that around.
Do you feel like the reason for that has a lot to do with the fact that negative is people tend to spiral into negativity a lot easier, and so there's typically a lot more negativity around us, therefore when negative happens, people tend to kind of leech onto that and kind of absorb it so much more than positive? Because when positive always is happening, I feel from my life, I've had people be like, oh, well, that must be nice, and they kind of like react to the positive things in a negative way. So it almost, for me, it makes me feel like I have to have I try to have a certain level of humility when a lot of positive is happening. And it's almost like I almost don't want to celebrate it so much because of the way that people tend to react to it negatively.
Haters gonna hate.
Exactly. Yeah. So
So
I feel like that has kind of a reason why we, it's so much easier for us to, kind of.
So there's two sayings that I've heard. One, be careful who you share good news with.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Two, be careful who you share bad news with.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Not everybody has your best interest. Not everybody wants you to succeed. And some people will revel in your success, and some people will wallow in it. Some people will revel in your failures, and some people will be there for you. So I think those are two really good bits of advice. And it also kind of ties back into what we were saying earlier, which is how often and how much are you sharing news or feelings or whatever it is with the people around you? um, because again, there's, like we said earlier, there's room that is required in a certain degree to vent. But when it goes beyond venting and it's like, well, you're telling this person, this person, this person, this person, how much energy are you putting out there on this thing? And again, I'm very guilty of this myself. It is what it is. Sometimes it feels like you need more empathy or sympathy or whatever. I don't know. You just need to get it out again. Um, and it's something I'm working on. That it's like I need to be mindful when I'm sharing something negative or when I'm feeling bad, and I feel like you know, I think there's room to reach out and to get that empathy back towards you, but again, how much energy are you putting into that when it's like, all right, you've kind of processed it. Now you're going into the territory of marinating in it. How long are you going to marinate in those emotions and let them consume you?
Yeah, often find with certain things I speak it into existence, but also to like hold myself accountable for certain things.
Sure. I think, and we're talking about, I'm making very generalized statements. So,
Yeah.
don't take it to the nth degree about every little thing. Um, there's certainly a benefit of accountability for things that you're looking to achieve or change or whatever. I think, yeah, it's just like we said, the people that hate, they're gonna hate.
And like, so I was like taught what an evil eye was this semester by my friend Shirk, and like in their culture, so she wears this like evil eye on her neck all the time because in their culture, like the evil eye is like basically like someone giving you an eye, like, oh, like I'm jealous, or like, oh, I'm mad that she got that. And like it can even be subconscious, like they can be like happy for you, but like on the deep on the inside, like they feel like rage about your like positive experience or whatever, and they don't even know, so they give you that like eye, like it's almost like they're like wishing that upon you. So like a way you could protect yourself maybe is like obviously meditation and like putting a shield around your body or like a bubble, or like wearing that necklace, or even carrying like stones around with you and stuff like that for protection, if that's like helpful. But that's like what I remember from, like that's kind of like a different version in another culture where it's like bigger in their culture, where they're like there is an evil eye, like there is people just like shading, like throwing shade at you from the side, and you won't even notice, or like you'll see someone look at you a certain way and it's like, oh, they're looking at me weird, whatever, like we kind of like pass it off like whatever, they're just looking at me bad. But like in like Middle Eastern culture, like if they give you the evil eye, they're like putting a spell on you, or like or something, like a curse on you. So I don't know, that's just a way you could protect yourself. It's just through like those ways.
Well,
Just
yeah, and that's
another.
why we go through and learn how to do the cord cutting and learn how to do the pyramid. Those are both really powerful techniques that I'm willing to bet y'all probably don't do enough, because I know I don't do it enough. And maybe I'm wrong, but it's just a hunch. Uh, it's easy to forget. Honestly, it's easy to just not do it, or feel like it's not going to be worthwhile, or whatever excuse you give yourself. It's the same crappy excuse that you give yourself why not to meditate. Um, they really are powerful tools for you to use so that you can be clear of those things. And that's certainly a thing. I mean, I don't know all the background of evil eye or whatever, but I would certainly say that, people project. You don't have to be skilled in this. This isn't a thing. Of course, the more skilled you are, the better you can be at projecting, or getting information from people on the opposite end of the spectrum. But no, I mean, this is just human nature. This is humans projecting energy. This is it's just psychic. It's psychic energy, but you don't have to be a psychic to do it, especially with the negative. It's, I mean, okay, it's all females here, so I'm sure at some point you've come across another female giving you daggers, eye daggers, right? Okay, so what is that? That's a bit of psychic warfare. I mean, it is what it is. I felt it too. I mean, and the reason I said, with females is because it is more prominent and usually more powerful from women than from men. Men are typically more vocal or, brutish about things, and women are a little bit more cunning in certain regards. Or, maybe I shouldn't use the word deceptive. I don't know that's necessarily the right word to use, but they're just, y'all are more empathic. And so because you're empathic, say on the receiving end, you're also very empathic on the giving end. And when it comes to negative, y'all are very good at it. Positive as well.
Yeah,
See, you've all experienced it, yes?
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually handle that with, kindness and smile. It's really hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
not
hilarious.
any better. That's the exact same thing. Okay, you're just masking it. Yeah,
I do that
right.
too, Chevy.
Yeah, that always wins the fight, the mental fight though. Like it wins every freaking time, and it's yeah, it's no better. Gosh, I didn't really think about it. It's literally, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a psychological warfare, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yourself. I was gonna share also something that um my preceptor at my hospital told me. She was just saying like she was just talking about like not sharing, like don't share your dreams with people who aren't dreamers, because they're totally just gonna like knock you down. And I feel like something I'm trying to like refine a little bit is I think of myself as a very open person, but I have a bit of a history of oversharing with people because I want to connect with people. So I think a way that I feel that I can do that is by sharing a lot, and then that's definitely backfired on me because if you share like all of your hopes and dreams with people and stuff, like they might not have the best like intentions for you, or they might, even whenever I tell my mom some of my dreams, she's like, well, she wants it to be realistic. So, it's kind of like a reality check, and it makes me feel really annoyed sometimes because I'm like, no, the details don't matter. Don't you understand? But she just doesn't. So it's one person I probably shouldn't share every detail with or feel the need to explain myself with, because some things that are feelings can't be explained. So, yeah.
So just a little personal tidbit on that, Claire, which is in regards to connecting with people. Learn how to ask questions versus sharing. Everybody loves talking about themselves. And when you allow people the chance to talk that like to talk, they're going to talk and feel connected to you because now they've exposed themselves. And I'm not saying to be closed off or anything, but just as a future tool, start practicing how to ask more questions of people, whether it be personal questions or work related or experience or life, whatever it is, try asking about themselves. And I think you'll find that you'll make the connection that you're looking for without the overexposure of yourself.
Yes, I think I'm definitely learning as I get older, like how valuable like listening is and how much people value that, because there's not a lot of like great listeners in the world, I feel like, because we're so like overstimulated just being like silent. Like that's something that I really like loved about my grandma. She was an amazing listener, and like at like a party, she was never like talking to people in the middle of it. She was always in the corner, and people would just go talk to her, and she would just listen and be like, and then like people were just drawn to her because of that, you know. And she didn't share stuff; she was just listening, and people loved that. So, yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying it to be like, you know, you need to shut yourself off from people. It's
Yeah.
just, it is a tool though that you can utilize so that you can make a judgment call of how much to share with this person. You know, you can allow somebody to kind of show you their colors before laying your hand down, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. It sucks that we have to kind of be like this, you know, but the truth is the truth, and we do have to coexist in this world. No matter how much you meditate or whatever, you know, like we say, you're going to have to need, you're going to need food at some point. You're going to need shelter. You're going to want companionship. You're going to want a bit of a normal life. I mean, and I think we all pretty much have that. We kind of have one foot in and one foot out. And that's really the balance that you really need and that you're really looking for. When you're out of that balance, that's when things tend to slip up. If you're too much in the physical matrixy world, you know, you get sucked into it and then you get pummeled because you've lost your soul, so to speak. And I'm not saying that you actually lost your soul, but you start losing that connection. You start feeling off. You start feeling like you've forgotten yourself. And again, that's why I like to meet once a week if we can, because it gives all of us a chance to remember ourselves and remember the path that we're on. Remember that we are trying to awaken, that we're looking for our connection to God, or that we've chosen the path of a seeker. Because that was a choice. You know, it's nobody's forcing you to be here or to even on your own listen to other videos or read other books or find other inspirations for your soul, for your spirituality. I mean, all of those things are a choice that you made, and it's back to, you know, forgetting or getting sucked into this matrix. Where have you been? You know, where have you been? when you haven't meditated for a year, it's like, you know, it's like, shit, what am I doing? What have I missed out on? How much ground could I have covered if I had just stuck to my daily meditation, or, you know, weekly meditation? Whatever you're doing right now, or what, we all could do better. I'm sure of that. You know, 100%, I know all of us can do better than we're doing right now. And the thing is, you usually know that you can do better. You usually feel it internally. You feel yourself when you don't do it, and you know you could have done it. And that goes for a lot of things, even just in life. It's like, you know where your shortcomings are without being told. It's like, you know your own sins, so to speak. And I'm not necessarily a proponent of sins, but you know where you're lacking. It's like you can feel it in your chest. It's like, ugh, like I didn't do this, or I let myself slip on that moral or that goal I had, or, you know, whatever it is. It's like, you know it, and it's like you can't shake it. And that's kind of how you can also use your kind of compass, your navigator, to direct you and help guide you in the choices that you're making or the actions that you're taking. It's kind of like, you know, when you look at how do I think I'm going to feel after I work out, or how do I think I'm going to feel if I don't work out? You know, feel it in your chest, and it's like, oh, the feeling of accomplishing that feels great. Like the feeling of sitting on the couch all night and doing nothing kind of feels shitty, you know? That's another really helpful tool to utilize, is the emotional tags of something. So doing those comparisons in your chest, like, how does it feel to win? How does it feel to lose? Like, both of those have real strong connotations in here that you can utilize to propel yourself when you don't feel like doing something. It's like, especially when you've already done something previously that rewarded you in a, you know, emotional way. It's like, you know how it felt when you did yoga the other day after you finished. It's like, wow, you feel accomplished, you feel like energized, you feel whatever it is. So it's like, when you're looking at the choice to go to yoga or not go to yoga, how does that make you feel? Clean your room, not clean your room, to blah, 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 whatever it is. Using emotional markers can really help guide you.
I often find that, like for me, it helps, like for gym or just like certain things that I know it's gonna be a good idea. I usually put myself into like a meditative state, and I turn my like the thinking off, and I turn my physicality like on. So like my brain is just completely off, you know, there's no thoughts, and I'm just going through the motions that I have to go through to, like, for example, get to the gym. So I turn it off and I put my clothes on, and I don't even let a thought run. Like, I don't even pay attention to it, any thoughts that are running through my mind. I get in the car and I just go, like, you know. So I don't know, maybe that may not help for everybody, but for me, like, if I sit there and start weighing like, you know, which one to do, it's just too much noise for me,
Yeah. No,
you know?
that's a really good technique, and you know, further to that, there's also like studies that say, you know, just commit to like 2 minutes of what it is that you want to do, and even if you do only 2 minutes, it's still better than nothing. And it usually, you know, you usually end up doing more. You
Mhm.
usually end up actually. So if it's like running or something like that, it's like, don't make your goal that you need to run like 3 miles. Make your goal that you're gonna just get out the door,
Mhm.
and then see what you do. You know, it's kind of like exactly what you're saying. I think is really spot on, Chevy. Sometimes it's hard to turn off your mind though, and it's like, you know, you get sucked into the negative choice, if you want to call it that, the alternative choice. Uh,
Cookies and milk and
mm,
ice cream.
yeah,
Yum.
Choices are like so nice. Yes, yum. Also, Leandra, oh, your dog. Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. He wasn't like that last time I looked over there.
he's like, I'm listening. But choices are hard. I definitely sometimes I'm like, should I do this? Should I not do it? And then you get in this like, isn't it a weird like mind space that you get? It's like, yes, this. And
Mm-hmm.
it gets so much so fast that like you just want to like go to bed. Like I just like I get like paralyzed. It is such a weird feeling. Like that feels like is like don't want to go. You just gotta go. Just do
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
I'm right there with you. Like, yeah, it makes me tired. It makes me feel like, you know what, I don't want to do any of it. Like I'm done with all of it. And so, yeah.
That was a C. That was one of the C's, confusion.
Yay!
So now we have 5 C's. Thank you, Leandra. I'm sure there's more. But yeah, being confused and just like going at your confusion with like a thinking mind is just like putting a lot, it just like it takes a lot of energy. It makes you tired. And so it's just like if you have like my friend had said like if you have like a choice that you need to make, she's like a good thing to do is put yourself like in a space of like joy first before you do it. So instead of so that way you're using your heart, so you just like feel what joy feels like, you know, kind of like do this and smile and then just like get into that space and then make your choice versus like oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, you know, because then it just takes so much energy. So just like kind of changing where you're kind of thinking from, because the mind can just keep going and going and going.
yeah. Choice is definitely one of those things that plagues a lot of people. Um,
The less of them, the better for me.
yeah,
Tell me what to do. Just kidding.
yeah,
Not really.
But I think like, well, earlier you were saying like, oh, I just put on my clothes and then I go. But like, like I totally resonate with that because like, you know, I'll be like sitting at home like studying all day and I'm like, okay, I need to go on a walk or go to yoga or go to kickboxing. And sometimes I'll literally just put on the clothes like hours before because I'm literally like, if I don't put on the clothes, I would just sit here and just like be like, oh, I'm so comfy or like I'm so focused, like typing away, you know, like I can't do it. Like I can't go. But like when I put the clothes on, I'm like, all right, like I have to go now because I put on the clothes. Or like even like at my kickboxing gym, they're like, on Mondays, you should just sign up for the class for the whole week on the days that you want to go, because on Monday, you feel the most motivated. And so if you sign up for the class, then you'll feel like you have to go because you've already like set yourself up for it during the week. And like, I think that's like a method that works for me really well, is to like almost like pre-plan my choices so that I don't have a choice when the day comes. Like I can't change my mind, or like, oh, well, I already dedicated it to this, or I already said yes, so I got to do it, you know?
So my question maybe that you can think about, or maybe I'll have some idea, would be, how can you apply that same line of thinking to your meditation?
This is rhetorical.
No, if you have any ideas, we're all ears. Because the thing is like you're saying, and I have always heard that one about the gym, and I used to use that as well. It was like, as soon as I got home, of course now I'm home all day, but it was like as soon as I got home from work, it was like I can't do anything else. I need to go straight to my room and change into my gym clothes and get out the door. Otherwise, I'm not going to work out. So it's like what I'm kind of driving at is, well, what can we do? What can we incorporate in the same way towards a daily meditation practice?
What I was doing for a while, I've kind of slipped off, and I'm not doing it so much now. But it really helped me was like it was like kind of reward based, but also something else that I know I needed to do that I maybe know that, you know, I could kind of slip up on as well. But I would make sure before I went to the gym, I would meditate prior to. So like if I don't meditate, I don't go to the gym. And if I don't go to the gym, I'm just going to gain weight. And it's just like a whole plethora of problems for my life. So I would just always make sure that I did it prior to. And then I liked splitting them up into shorter meditations too, like the 15, 20 minute, because I would just kind of go into it thinking, okay, I'm only going to do 15, 20 minutes. But then when I look through a playlist, I'm like, okay, well, this playlist is 25, 30 minutes. Okay, I'll just do that one. And so you just kind of like tricking myself into getting it done, basically.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And I don't know, obviously the gym one's not, and like you said, Chevy, obviously I'm not doing it right now. Well, you know what? You're also not always doing it for the gym one, but it's a technique
Yeah,
that helps. And
exactly.
if
Yeah.
it helps you, it's going to help somebody else.
Yeah. So you're saying I didn't
I,
need to say that little extra part. Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
Okay. My bad.
that's okay.
I'm just wanting to be
I
honest with you guys.
I do that too, Chevy. Like in the mornings, I'll wake up, and it actually started during quarantine. Like I would work out, do like a little workout, and then I would meditate after to like calm myself because I'd be so like buzzing, you know. And
Hmm.
so I would meditate right after, and I made it part of my exercise. Like
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like I want to do an hour today of like this and this and that, and then also the last thing is like some yoga or meditation. So I made it part of my actual exercise because I was like, I'm exercising my body and then I'm exercising my mind. But I definitely agree. Like if I didn't feel like exercising, then I wouldn't meditate. Or sometimes I'd be like, oh, like I don't want to exercise today, so the least I can do is meditate. So it would be almost like I was like okay, let me cut this out, but then I'll like at least do this to make up for like what I'm not doing.
Hmm.
So it was kind of like tricking myself, yeah, into meditating every day.
That's really good. I mean, that's what we have to do. We have to trick ourselves because we're these stupid freaking humans that do stupid bullshit to ourselves. So yeah, I don't know, maybe even tying it to your dinner or some. I don't know if that works for you guys. That like you don't allow yourself to start cooking dinner until you've done a 10-minute meditation. You know, I think
On the survival, like food is, I feel like that's a slippery slope there. If you're hungry and then you're like,
okay.
going to your meditation, like, you know, hangry.
Or like you say, the reward center of like your ice cream or whatever.
Well, I can't have any of that anymore.
Well, okay. I'm trying to think of anything else that, like, you know, again, would help solidify a practice in your daily routine. And you know, I think the big key there, and that's why I said a 10-minute one, is because it's like, you know, you really just want to cultivate the mindset that no matter what happens in any given day, like, you are going to meditate. And so, because sometimes, and again, it's myself included, it's easy to let yourself say, and these are the excuses I give myself. I don't feel like meditating. I'm not in the right mindset. My brain is scattered. Well, now I'm too full, or now I'm too hungry, or now I'm too tired. Like, all of those things are kind of stupid excuses. It's like, okay, if I'm too tired and I end up falling asleep, whatever. At least I meditated until I fell asleep. Like, you know, there's always a million excuses that we can give ourselves. And, you know, again, if it's like, at least if it's a daily practice, even if it's a 10-minute meditation, just like Chevy said, you know, well, I only want to do 15 minutes. Then when I sat down to do it, I saw the playlist was 25. I thought maybe I'll only do 3 tracks, but then I ended up doing all 5 tracks, you know? It's how can you take that same step of getting dressed for the gym again, but applying it to meditation? It's kind of what you need to maybe focus on this week or something, is using that for your own integration into your spiritual practice. Because what you'll end up finding is that when you cultivate that in your routine, everything else starts to work out. Like, your life starts working out, things start smoothing over, your emotions are better, like you're more apt to make better choices. You don't have like the crash, like you said, like you experienced, Claire, like you don't have as many of those kinds of crash days where you feel like you're just totally exhausted because you've been going full throttle. So you're able to even accomplish more. And we all know that these are kind of the positive attributes of meditation, but it doesn't provide any more motivation. And that's the thing that you need to also understand, is that motivation is fleeting. You cannot count on motivation for anything. It's great when you have motivation, and definitely use it when it comes upon you to propel yourself. But it's like, if you only go to the gym when you feel motivated to go to the gym, you're never going to go to the gym. So this is something that's applicable for work, for a relationship, for life, for who you want to be. Like, it's all back to you being the adult to yourself. And it sucks to be a fucking adult, man. Like, I don't want to do this shit, but like, you have to understand that it's just you. Like, it's really just you in this world. Like,
It just, like, it blows my mind because we know all of the freaking benefits. We've all gone on months streaks of like, I just wish that I could just capture the freaking thing that slips you off. Like, it's just, and it's not just meditation, you know, it's like literally all aspects of our lives. There's just this slip, you know, and once that slip happens, it's like,
and the problem is that it's like a sandcastle that's on the beach, right? And the water's coming in. So the sandcastle itself doesn't disintegrate right away, right? So the water, say the tide is coming in, there's the sandcastle, it's getting washed, it's disintegrating until it's the beach again. That's your spirituality. That's you in your spirituality. It's your sandcastle. And the beach, the tide, it comes in every day. It's
Mm.
not one thing that makes you slip. It's a bad night of sleep. It's a pulled muscle. It's a delay at work. It's an annoying boss. It's an annoying family member. It's your partner. It's you slipping up on your food. It's like it is, again, the universe is very efficient in its mode, in its programming. It's going to use the least possible interference to ding you. It's somebody cutting you off on the road. It's an extra long red light when you're late for work. It's rain on your wedding day.
Ooh, why did you say that?
Get it, Alanis?
Alanis Morissette.
Um,
I got you. I got you. I like
Thank
that
you. Thank you.
one. Yeah, I feel like a lot of it also is like kind of like subconscious like patterns that I feel like the only way to get out of those sometimes is to meditate, because I feel like if you like you normally don't have access to the like I'm doing behind my head for some reason, but the subconscious, like you don't really know like what sort of like patterns are going on there. And like I feel like that's kind of what can keep you from like meditating, even though you know in your forefront you're like, oh, meditation would probably help me right now, and then you like don't do it. I feel like there's something kind of like running in the background that's like kind of convincing you not to do it. I don't
Sure.
know, but it's tricky. And yeah, I feel like the closer like you can get to it more whenever you meditate, but then like it at the same time is keeping you from meditating. So it's tricky stuff.
oh yeah.
That like reminds me. So like last week I was talking with my therapist and I was telling her, I was like, sometimes I feel like I literally have like two people on my shoulders and it's like versions of me, and it's like yes, no, yes, no, and, or like whatever I'm doing, right? And I was like, I'm like, why can't I just like, I was like, how do I stop that yes, no, like, back and forth in my mind? And she's like, well, why don't you just flick both of them off your shoulders and then just be you? And I was like, oh, I was like, you're right. I was like, I'm gonna flick them off, like get away from me. And I was like, she's like, you know what you want and you know who you are. You know at the core who you are. So like there's no point in like having that internal conflict in yourself. She's like, so just breathe and then flick them off and then come back to your center and ask yourself like what it like truly like is what you want or like what your decision is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's awareness, right? Awareness is having the capability to stop and think for a moment, to think who's thinking these thoughts. Is it you, or is it this you, or this you, or this you? Is it the emotions that's running right now, or is it your highest goal, your highest aim part of you, or is it just a fleeting thought? Is it something that's going to fulfill you in a gratification in the short term, but not in the long term? It's like all those kind of emotional factors really play a lot of, they have a lot of emphasis in the choices that you make. And that sucks too. Like we're kind of ruled by these emotions in a certain regard. And again, that's why it comes back to awareness. And even in that context, what is awareness? But being aware of the things that you're saying, the choices that you're making, the actions that you're taking. And hopefully you're making the choices that align with your best self, or at least if it's not your best self, hopefully it's at least a little bit better than, again, who you were yesterday.
Yes. It's cool that you said aligns, because I was thinking about choices and I was like, I was going through some different stuff in my life and I was like, is this the like good choice, bad choice? Like, is this a bad choice? Is this a good choice? And then I was like, no, it's not really about like a good choice or a bad choice. It's the choice that aligns most with, like my higher self and with like my true intentions. So like instead of like labeling it as good or bad. It's just like whatever aligns, you know. I feel like that's a more clear way for me at least to think about those things.
Yeah, well, and again, that's back to just general awareness and how are you utilizing your spirituality in your life? And, you know, it's because it's on the one hand, we need to interject our spirituality into our lives to fulfill this, again, drive to seek connection or to be connected with your soul, your higher self. And on the other side of it is, again, it's 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So it's not only it's not just like what can you do to gain more spirituality. It's also what can being more in line with your spirituality help you out in your regular life, in your overall life. What tools are you gaining by integrating this practice that make your life actually better, that make you more capable of making these better choices, or being able to stop and feel where your thoughts are coming from, whether they be from emotional centers or, you know, this eye, that eye, this eye, that eye. And it's not so much about labeling it either. It's not about trying to say, well, this is the me that's thinking about this, or whatever else have you. It's just about recognizing that these things are coming from a place. And are you reacting or are you acting? And that's a really big key right there, is if you find that you're just reacting, then you're probably not taking an action that is in your best interest. You might be. It's not that you're necessarily taking a wrong action, but it's that when you're in a reactive mode, that's all it is. And so that's a very base level human reactivity to stimulus that's coming at you. And again, it's not that it's necessarily that you're going to take a wrong action, but you may fly off the handle on somebody, just as an example, when if you might have taken a breath, you may still need to be angry, but maybe you won't say something that you regret. Maybe you won't push it so far because you're in the heat of your emotion that you say something really hurtful to somebody that you care about. So it's about having, again, a little bit more control over this self that is the acting version of you in any given moment. And it's really difficult. Don't think it's easy. Don't think you're going to do it in one go. Don't think that you're going to never react again. You're a work in progress, you know, and I always tend to use relationship type of fights, whether they be usually in an actual relationship more so than a friendship, but even in friendships. But there's a lot of times when you get caught up in a fight between the two of you, and it's you may be the person that is mad for 15 minutes and over it, or mad for an hour and over it, or mad for a day and over it, but where are you drawing the line? When do you stop and take a moment and make a reassessment? And can you shorten that so that it can be a productive, actual conversation? Because it's like you're never going to agree 100% in any relationship. It's always going to be 50, maybe 51, 49 kind of a thing, but percentage of being right or wrong, so to speak. But, it's how quickly can you gain control and composure? And I don't mean putting on a smile and, doing what you were talking about earlier, Chevy. I mean, but that being said, they may take it like that. You know, when you stop and you stop play acting the role that they know you for, they may not be able, they're not necessarily, most of the time, I shouldn't say most of the time, a lot of the time they're not, they may not necessarily be in the same mindset of refining yourself as an individual as you are. And so sometimes when you stop in the middle and say, you know what, we need to take a pause, like I need to take a break, and can we reapproach this in 10 minutes? Just as kind of an example, they may not want to do that. You know, they want to fight. They want to continue that program that they're used to running. And you know, it's but for you, you're going to have to learn how to manage that and stand your ground, and know that it is ultimately in both of y'all's best interests. And again, I'm speaking in a relationship manner, hopefully both of you are in a partnership that is willing enough to work on those things and talk about those things that do come up, because it's never going to be perfect. You know, you're never going to be 100% right, and they're never going to be 100% right. Although you'd like to think you are, you'd like to think in every argument that they're wrong. Maybe you're only 5% wrong, but they're 95% wrong. But you know, it's important to have those conversations, and hopefully, again, you can manage those. You can be the voice of reason that can manage and say, we need to take a pause so that we can, you know, take a breather and then reassess, especially when it gets very heated, you know. Yeah, I see you shaking your head.
You're just getting my anxiety up just thinking about like just relationships and like that aspect of it. Like I do not miss that aspect, you know. And for me, I'm not combative really at all too much. So I don't like when that happens. That's all. I'm gonna stop talking now.
You're not combative because you're the winner, right? Because they're wrong.
Exactly.
Ain't nothing to argue about because you're wrong.
No, I just that's just not a fun. It's not a fun place, and it definitely can be friends too, because you know.
It's not. And what I'm talking
friendship, relationships in general.
Yeah. And what I'm talking about is not something easy to do. You know, again, it's one of those things where at least now you know it, and hopefully it's in your subconscious. Hopefully some part of it comes out at some point in the future, that you can at least recognize that you are play acting a role, and that you don't have to play act that role. Whether that's you're being petty, or you're being selfish or jealous, or you know, they did wrong to me, I want to do wrong back, or maybe you don't want to do wrong back, but they owe you now because you know they offended you and crossed you, and so now I'm going to hold this carrot in front of them, so to speak, until I feel that they've paid their penance. And you know, it happens in all kinds of ways. I'm kind of being a bit exaggerative about it, but this proverbial carrot can be hung in a very, you know, non aggressive way. It doesn't have to be something aggressive. It can be very much like, you know, just passive, or the passive aggressiveness. So it's not always fireworks and stuff. Sometimes it's silent treatment, or you know, withdrawal. I know I'm very guilty of that. I tend to just like withdraw. I just don't. I stop engaging, and that's just as bad. You know.
That's what I challenge with my challenges too. I just get to a certain point that I'm just like I just can't anymore, and so yeah, withdrawal is very, very present.
Yeah. It's tough, and you know, but you have to be the one at least monitoring yourself and stopping yourself as soon as you have the awareness, like, I'm being petty right now. Like, you have to make an acknowledgement and step forward and even if it's verbally to your partner, say, I'm drawing a line. I need to stop this. I'm being like this. Can I take a breather? Like, so. I don't know how I got onto that topic.
Well, ultimate awareness.
Good night, Leandra.
See you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Our little.
We got there. We got there in a nice way.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come out of nowhere.
Okay.
Don't worry. We were just having this normal conversation that you
And
just
all of a sudden, let's talk relationships.
Yeah. I'm angry about that shit.
Yeah. No, we're about it. We're about it.
I probably.
just now, Alex. You were gone for a little while, huh?
Yeah, I probably sensed something from one of you in the relationship. So.
No, I actually thought of like I told Adelie this story, but like kind of how you go into like this like role whenever you're arguing. Like you're kind of like you take on this role and like you're kind of like almost like acting, but like you feel it, but it's just kind of like super silly. And Michael and I were having an argument recently, and we were just kind of like going back and forth and stuff and being really stubborn. And then while I was like talking on my side, he like farted really loud. And then we just both started cracking up. We were like looking at each other and we just dropped the rolls, you know, because it was like, and he was like, I'm sorry, I couldn't hold it. and then we like laughed, and then we looked at each other. We're like, this is dumb. Like, this isn't, you know, but like it took something silly to like snap out of it. Like, because we weren't going to for a while, because yeah.
So next time you got to be the one that farts.
Yeah, exactly. When I'm tired of it, I'm just going to fart. See what happens.
But it's interesting that you say too about like the play acting the role, and it's like you kind of see yourself. It's like, at what point has anybody like slammed a door and they didn't pre-plan it? Like it's almost like you're like you see yourself doing it in your head first. I'm gonna this door that's gonna show him, like, you know.
Mine is stomping up the stairs. So dumb. So, and then I like go up to, and I'm like, that was really silly. Like,
yeah, and again, like I said, I tend to do like the more withdrawal thing, or I'm gonna respond in a certain way that's, you know, pensive and whatever, and I can feel myself like kind of gearing up for the talk. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. Like, it's just like, you know, what am I doing? You know. So
it's hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
But you just have to start, and you know, the easiest place is starting with yourself. And I think that's kind of how we got to this conversation. But you know, working on yourself and finding that awareness, so that you are more cultivated in aligning yourself with your best actions. Versus being the responsive to outside stimulus or even your own internal stimulus. It's like a craving, right? It's like, man, I'm craving ice cream. You know, okay, do I really need to act on that? You know, do I just need to respond in you know, act on it?
No, I just can't have it in my house, because I go through that and I can't. Yeah. And then I just get to a point like, no, I'm having this. It tastes delicious. It's happening now. Yeah. And then as I'm putting it in the bowl, I'm just like, Chevy, you know you shouldn't be doing. It's too late. It's already in the bowl. It's too late.
You're crying on the inside.
Yeah, on the inside, but I like smash that self all the way down until I'm done eating it. Then I'm like, that was a bad idea. But it tastes so good.
I get it, man. So, yeah. Anything
Good
else?
talk.
Yeah, very good talk.
I didn't know where we were going to go tonight.
A lot of it very much aligned with what I was thinking about today. Mm-hmm. A surprise, but very nice.
Yeah, I think, Claire, you started us off today.
Yeah, I was about to say, you kind of started the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
That's good, because I was going to talk about some other bullshit. Who knows?
Oh.
No, I have this book over here that like I've had since I was really young, and it has a lot of good psychological experiments.
Ooh.
And I saw a couple in here that were pretty good. I had a couple other things in mind too, but yeah,
That's cool.
save it for later. It's in the vault.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah, because good class. I appreciate y'all coming on.
Yeah, it's been a good
Yeah.
night, ladies' night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Plus Alex.
But yeah.
Yeah, that was
Bye,
wonderful.
friends.
Thanks, y'all. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.